Welcome to Soul Rising. We're your hosts, Amy and Erin. We're two everyday mediums who are passionate about taking the woo-woo out of spirituality and bringing it down to earth. So put the kettle on, grab a chair, and join us. Hey everyone!
Santa, can you hear me?
It's Christmas time! It's Christmas! This, if you're listening on the day that this episode goes live, it's Christmas Day. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry
From
Christmas.
your elf and Santa. Holiday vibes, and Erin is dreaming of a wine Christmas.
Wine Christmas?
Yeah. So the energy is
Maybe the only Christmas sweater the only like ugly Christmas sweater
I
quote
know.
I have is like a wine Christmas sweater, which was gifted to me. Shout out to Janet by my brother's girlfriend. So bless.
It's funny. Yeah, I actually have a really ugly Christmas sweater. I should have worn it. It's just really itchy.
Oh yeah, no, you don't want to do that.
It's like, it's white and red, and it's got a big, like, knitted snowflake right here.
I know what you mean.
It's super itchy.
So itchy.
Yeah, so that's why I got this one on. So yeah, energy is like really light and fun today. We're excited. It's the last time we're going to get together. Yeah, we're wearing hats. We don't care. Last time we're going to get together until the new year. So that's another reason that we're happy and excited today. Mm-hmm. But what we're going to talk about today is good. Like, it can lead to more happiness and excitement. But the topic we're going to talk about today is boundaries.
Boundaries. Stop right now. Thank you very much.
Honey.
We're allowed to sing these songs right now. You can sue us. I didn't finish the lyrics, so I don't know. I didn't sing the whole song. Maybe Scott can find out.
Yeah, too funny. Yeah, so there's importance, every day, 24/7 to have boundaries, and that's certainly something that we encourage people to do. And even I find, like, as we kind of go through our own spiritual evolution ourselves, we learn to set our own boundaries. It's like part of the deal of what we have to do. And just like to have, but like everybody should have boundaries set every day, like with themselves, with other people.
Yeah.
And it's especially important at the holidays. Do you not think?
Oh, I mean,
if there ever was a time
for boundaries.
Yeah. Holidays.
I mean, the holidays can look so different for so many different folks, right? I think the holidays, which is also important to acknowledge, I think can bring up grief, depending on what's happened, right? The previous year, Christmas can be really tough for some folks.
Yeah.
Or even just in general, it can be tough, a tough time. So I think it's just important to say we're thinking of you guys. Yeah. We're sending you lots of love. And we see you.
Yeah.
And on the other note, depending on what your relationship is like with your families, I don't know anybody that doesn't have their family stuff, right?
Everybody
I don't know anybody
does.
that doesn't have their families.
Yeah.
So boundaries are super important in that regard, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to have boundaries with your family. We were just talking about this like briefly off air.
Off air, yeah. I was sharing a little bit about a boundary that my husband and I instilled when we became parents way back when. Now 16 almost. Because I remember when I was growing up, Christmas, as a kid, it was fun, right? But when I became a parent, I saw this, like, it was just so busy. And I'm like, when would they have, like, my parents have had time to, like, actually sit and enjoy us and just the day? Like, it was so hustle and bustle, and some people really, really like that hustle and bustle, and they like to be traveling to and fro and all these things, and certainly, like, if that works for you, great. But what we felt when we became parents was, you know what, like, I think we're going to set a boundary. And it was actually really difficult for me
Mm-hmm.
because I like to make everybody happy, as most of us do. Uh, but we set a boundary that Christmas, as parents, was going to be at home, at our home. So we were not going to be getting up, rushing through presents, getting in the car and going anywhere. We were going to be
And I love
staying at
that.
home
Yeah.
in our pajamas for half the day, cooking our own
Mm-hmm.
turkey.
Mm-hmm.
And the more the merrier. If family wants to come visit, please come, because I actually really love visitors. I
Yeah.
just don't want to travel all over the place on Christmas Day. I
Yeah.
mean, that was that year we had a baby. So I was like, I definitely don't want to be driving around with a
Oh God,
baby,
no.
right? So
Mm-mm.
it
Mm-mm.
was just something we did. And I remember at the time, like, other friends of mine would be like, whoa, like, I would love to do that, but like, I couldn't do that. But like, that sounds awesome.
And that takes a lot too. That's, I think that's why they're saying that, that's not easy to do,
Right. But it was real. And I
with
really
those
credit my husband
boundaries.
with that, because for me, I would have really struggled with it. But it was him kind
Hmm.
of like, this is important. Like, I think this is what we should do.
You were
Because,
a united front.
yeah. And I also feel like, I think that he had mentioned something like his parents kind of did the same thing with the rushing around, and that I believe this idea stemmed from him talking to them when they were adults and saying, like, it's really nice to just be at home, and have people come to you. So I
Yeah.
think that's where that came from. But over the years, I noticed more and more people kind of going, you know what, I'm going to do that too.
Hmm.
And this isn't, I guess this is an example of a boundary. And what that means is like a desire to do something different, because it's what makes you happy.
Yeah.
Um, Even if it's something that you haven't done before, or that you feel
Hmm.
kind of nervous to do, or you're worried about how somebody else is going to take it. Like, normally that's how I define a boundary, like under those
Yeah.
kind of circumstances. So that's why
Yeah.
I call that a boundary, right? That was
Yeah.
us, like, right from the
Yeah.
get-go, making it clear, like, this is how Christmas is with us,
Hmm.
and people just have to get used to it. Like, there was no,
That's it.
it was just what it was.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's just an example that we were talking about off
I
air,
know.
about
Yeah.
boundaries. But like, I know Christmas is really tough. Like, the last couple of years, obviously it's really tough. Now there's even more discord with people having difference of opinions about stuff and concerns and worries. We won't get into that too much, but we're acknowledging it. We know it's a
Hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there's a lot of people I know, like clients or just acquaintances and friends, who have quite strained relationships with their families. And
Hmm.
maybe they're
Hmm.
getting to the point now that they are adults or have their own families, which they want to set some boundaries
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah. And that's okay, you guys. It's
It's
also
okay.
important to set boundaries with your family. Okay?
100%.
It is okay. I feel like I went to therapy, and part of my big therapy was, um, and still, I think, still is something that I think I'm working on. And I know other people, we're always working on boundaries, right?
Yep.
But that was something my therapist told me, like, hey, it's okay to not respond right away to, if somebody messages you, or like,
That's a good one.
right, if
Yeah.
somebody reaches out to you, messages you, if a family member messages you, you don't have to respond right away.
Mm-mm.
It's okay to put that on hold,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Absolutely.
And uh
That's even more
shout out
important.
to my therapist. Like, she's
She's amazing.
top notch. Yeah.
She knows what she's talking about.
That's what she's talking
And
about.
this is even
One,
important. Sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say, this
no.
is even more important right now in the day and age of us. Everybody has phones, and everybody.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend about this, and she's kind of like, I hate that I have to be. People expect me to be like on call 24/7 because I get this message. Like, I want the old days where I could ignore the phone call and then
Yeah.
call you back when I want to, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, it's even more enhanced now,
Hmm.
because we're all tied to
Well,
something.
and technology.
Yeah,
So we're just in
immediately.
such a very fast pace.
Yeah,
You type something on the internet, it pops up immediately.
yeah,
So like I find that, and I've even had to like remind myself, being like, Erin, patience is important.
yeah,
Right? It's okay that it doesn't happen right away, right? Sometimes we have to wait. And so I think that it's so interesting, right? Like as we move through um, the ages, or as we like continue on and move through, and technology grows and we grow, so do like things just change, right? And we have to sort of move with the change.
yeah,
And part of that is slowing down.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it's
I,
interesting because as you're saying that, I'm like, as the world speeds up, I think uh, our
yeah.
our mission here as souls who chose this particular time period to be here was, as
Mhm.
everything speeds up and gets fast, we are meant to slow down.
Slow down.
It's like I always say, it's like on the job training. That's what life is, right? So it's like,
Yeah, no
we're going to
kidding.
put you in a really fast paced environment where you can lose yourself,
Hmm.
and it's there's
Hmm.
going to be a lot of challenges.
Oh my God. I mean, this goes back to like, being in our bodies and being grounded.
Yeah.
I've had so many. I remember sitting when I went to school for social service work, I remember sitting on the bus at one point and being like, I took the subway here, right?
Yeah, like I don't even know how I got here. We've
How
all
did I
done stuff
get
like
here?
that. I know. On autopilot.
On autopilot. Autopilot. So, yeah. But yeah, boundaries, boundaries, boundaries,
Boundaries
boundaries.
will help for sure.
Friends, family, like, in your workplace, like it's okay to say no, you
It's
know.
starting to change though, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
starting to see that people are seeing the value in boundaries and being able to set them a little bit easier. I'm also finding things in like workplaces might be starting to get it
Yeah.
around boundaries, and
Certain,
people,
maybe
yeah,
certain workplaces.
yeah, certain
But yeah.
workplaces. Um, maybe like when you are home and you're not on the clock,
Yeah.
you're not expected to be answering
Yeah.
emails, at 11
Well,
o'clock at night,
it's
stuff
like with
like
our
that.
businesses,
Yeah.
I try my best to respond to people as fast as I can. And I found myself like it was like 12 o'clock last night. And I was like, oh, I didn't respond to this email. I should respond to it. And I'm like, it's 12
It's
o'clock.
midnight. Yeah.
It's 12 a.m. They can wait.
Yeah. And
you
that's
know,
an example of
like
you
love
having
you,
this.
but right, it's
Yeah.
so late. I'm allowed to be in my bed and just this person will
Yeah.
not be upset if I go to bed,
And they're
before
not going to be. It's just an internal thing that you're meant to work
internal
through in
thing.
that moment, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's part of it.
I made a post the other day about like a higher self kind of message
Mm-hmm.
about, and it got a lot of traction, and a few people were like, I never thought about it that way. But what I said in it was really like the way to evolve and grow as a person, and therefore like evolve, have the world evolve and grow,
Mm-hmm.
is to like take care of yourself. like self-discovery, self-awareness, boundaries, self-compassion, and forgiveness. If every single person started to work on those things in themselves, collectively the whole
Mm-hmm.
world would change. And how I felt like that right now collectively is our mission.
Yeah.
Like we externally, the world is making us feel divided, is making us feel outside of our bodies, is making us question things.
Mm-hmm.
We're not sure about ourselves or our opinions. We're comparing ourselves to everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what if that was all just one big test to see?
Because it 100% is.
100%, right? But I was just like, it's so true. Like that is the way. If you want like to see a better world, a better future for yourself and for
Mhm.
your children and other people, it's like I really and truly believe that we need to work on ourselves. And one of
Yeah.
those ways is boundaries.
Boundaries. And you know what? I feel like that is such a good perspective, Amy. Like to say, look at this from, rather than putting yourself right in that scenario, step out and think of it as this is a lesson.
It's a
This is a
test.
learning
Yeah.
experience,
Mm-hmm.
right? What if you would like to pass this test? What would you do? Right? Or if you were the other person, or if you were watching you,
What would you
I always like
advise?
this. What
Yeah.
would you have done?
Yeah.
Somebody once told me, like, if you were, if you little Erin was watching you, what would you want to model for her as the
Mm-hmm.
right way to go about the
Mm-hmm.
scenario?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's so important to, like, and it's not easy to do, right? So it takes practice, and it just takes mindfulness, which is what we're
But
talking
having that
about here.
awareness is a win. I
That's a
talked
huge
about this
win.
yesterday in a group, and somebody kind of had a realization about something, and there was tears because it was like I'm in shock. Like I just had this realization about myself, and I don't know what to think about it. And the rest of us were like, it's a huge win
It's a
because now
huge, yeah,
right? So
yeah.
sometimes there are gifts wrapped up in that pain and that confusion and that all that stuff. And
And
if we
all it takes is just having that bird's
stepping
eye
back,
view,
yeah,
stepping out and reframing it, which is all we do as mediums and intuitives,
we
right? If
reframe
people
it.
are seeking guidance in some way, I can't give you the answers. We've talked about this so much. We don't give you the answers, right? We just give you this different perspective,
Yeah,
different way to look at it.
a broader perspective, because that's like spirit's perspective is
A
this
spirit
really
perspective.
broad bird's eye view, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like we know you're going to be okay, and we know there's purpose in what you're going through.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
let's look at it from this perspective so it
Yeah.
helps you understand. But yeah, I found it life altering to stop in those moments where I'm kind of going through a hard time and really focusing on like sometimes it's hard, but sometimes I'm like, just I know I can find a silver lining. What is it?
Yeah.
It's hard
Yeah.
to do that too when you're in the thick of it. Like sometimes you do need a little bit of space and time out of the heavy emotions to be able to even like grasp that there is a silver lining.
Yeah, absolutely.
So don't judge. Like I always say this because there's, spiritual bypassing is something that I talk about sometimes. We've talked about it before. And like, you can't, in this world of like self development and self improvement, I know I've literally had clients come to me and they say, if I've said that, like, have you had a reading before? Oh, I used to have them all the time, but I actually got kind of addicted to them. So I had to like stop. And I'm like, that's
Yeah.
amazing that you have that self awareness, first of all.
Hmm.
But that's a good example of how, you can just, it's like trusting something out external to of yourself. Because a mediumship reading is really, like we talked about this last week, is about empowering the person, giving them the tools so that they
Hmm.
feel that they can handle and tackle
Yeah.
this thing. But if you become super dependent on that, like we
Hmm.
just said last
Hmm.
week, we don't want you to become dependent on us. We want to help you, empower you, and then like watch you go, right? Like spirit often gives me this picture in my mind of like a parent holding on to the back of a child's bicycle, and then it's like, okay,
Hmm.
okay, you got this, yay! Like you're riding your bike,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So we can get like kind of um obsessed with self development and self
Oh,
awareness, but if we're just like absorbing all the things and then we're not doing anything with them,
hmm. Or
that's not the
sometimes I
point.
also find, like, back when I'm just bringing an example for myself of back when before I met Alex, I was like really focused on. I was like, when am I going to find this flipping person
Yeah.
that I'm supposed to be with? Where is he? And I would always shuffle cards. I would ask, like, I'd be seeing somebody and I would be like, is it him?
Yeah.
Is this the
Yeah.
one? And that is just a really good example of how you could be kind of in your head with things, right? And it's like, if you don't get the answer that you're looking for and you keep shuffling those cards and you get mixed messages, it's the same with mediumship. Like, if you keep coming for a reading for like the same
The
question
same
over
thing
and
over and
over
over. You're
and
hoping
over
for a
again,
different answer. Hmm.
there's it's going to get muddled. You're not going to be you're not going to be totally happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
goes
What
back to,
was
sorry, go ahead.
goes back to boundaries. I was
Yeah.
going to say, like, what's an example maybe where you've had to set, because maybe I think this is good to talk about, like giving examples and maybe like how you dealt with putting in those boundaries, maybe without like giving names or like, but like maybe a
Just an example in
scenario.
my life.
Yeah.
What I was thinking about was like setting boundaries with myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had to do that.
That's huge.
Trying to think. I honestly have to set boundaries with the spirit world. So maybe I can talk about that for a minute. That's an
Mm-hmm.
important thing. And for anybody that would self-identify as, a highly sensitive person or an
Mm-hmm.
empath, intuitive, a common thread that I've discovered. Certainly, I'm not a medical professional, so I haven't made this is not like a clinical trial, but something that I have observed over the last few years with my clients and with meeting other people that do this work is that anxiety is a very common thread.
Yeah. Yeah.
Feelings of anxiety.
Feelings of
And
anxiety.
certainly, I'm not here to tell you that, you can tap into spirit and your anxiety will go away, because that's not the truth. But something that I've learned is that I was very, very worried and resistant to opening up to the spirit world once I realized that I could, because I thought, what am I opening myself up to?
Yeah.
What's around me? I already feel anxious most days.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to add more on top of that.
Yeah.
And something that I learned over time was that when you are this highly sensitive person,
Mm-hmm.
you already are open.
Yeah.
You're open like from birth, probably, right? Or from
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
experience as childhood. And it's not about, it's about learning how to open when you want to open
Mm-hmm.
and be closed the rest of the time. And something that I learned for me personally, so I can't generalize to everybody, but for me personally, because I have this connection to spirit, because I am a medium and I always have been, but I didn't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
When I was open and feeling extremely anxious, something that I figured out was some of those times it was not because I was actually anxious, but because I was picking up on spirit.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
energy of spirit in our physical bodies can, for me personally,
Yeah.
can feel the same as my anxiety does.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to learn to set boundaries with myself in terms of like being open to spirit.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
So I've talked before about like in the beginning of my journey, I used to do a lot of visualization and stuff to kind of like to protect me. Like there was more ritualistic kind of things, and I don't do that anymore
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like I know that this work is all about intent.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that now I'm practiced enough
Mm-hmm.
to go, hey, spirit, I'm going to Costco. Leave me alone, like, and it will happen. I don't have to go through the whole ritual anymore, right? But
Yeah.
certainly in the beginning, that would probably help people. But something that I would do was like, I would imagine in my mind's eye
Mm-hmm.
this, like, sometimes it was a bubble.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was like I was seeing myself blowing a bubble of gum, and it would
Mm-hmm.
get bigger and bigger and bigger with each breath until it was
Yeah.
fully covering me. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, or it would be like a white light or like a soap bubble, and
Cool.
whatever it is. And then I'd be like, okay, I'm protected now. I'm going out. And then when I'd come home, I'd like the bubble would pop.
Oh, that.
And
Ooh,
that's
that's
something
cool.
that I would do, and I would do it before readings to
Mm-hmm.
protect myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that was me setting a boundary with the spirit world. So I often hear people go, do mediums, are they like always hearing spirit? For me, the answer is no,
No.
because I wouldn't be able to. I think that I would be like very, very highly anxious, like before, maybe. I
Mm-hmm.
think that it
Mm-hmm.
would be
Mm-hmm.
really hard, especially now that I have this awareness of the spirit world and that I can communicate. I think that it could almost consume me,
Yeah.
like take over my life in
Yeah.
a way.
Yeah.
So I made a deal with spirit when I started to do this, that I would do this work on their behalf with
Mm-hmm.
integrity and love, but I wasn't available 24/7. So I was like, you know what? And so for me, I literally only do readings when I'm sitting at this desk in this chair. That's it.
And like that's your intention that
That's
you've
my
set,
intention.
right? You're like, when I'm here, I'm on.
I'm on,
I'm not
ready to
here,
go.
I'm gone. Yeah.
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 And so that's like when I'm doing my work or I'm like
That's
making
really cool.
content or anything like that. I'm like, I'm in my chair, spirit. I need your help with this content, right? Like when I'm
Okay, I'm
channeling,
sitting down now.
yeah, I'm in my chair. I'm ready to
Ready.
go. Come on. And sometimes I'm like, where are you? I need help with this
But I
content.
love that too. And because I just feel like you've put that energy out there, right? So that it's almost like it's in that space. And so maybe so you just keep coming back to this space and you already feel like your bubble, this is your
This
bubble,
is my
right?
bubble.
Bubble that you've made. That's really cool. It's like you're walking into your own portal.
Essentially. Like, yeah, I created my own portal, I guess.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah, now that you say it, that is really badass. Yeah, but that was me having to go, I'm scared,
Mhm.
I'm resistant, I don't know, I feel called, like pushed, not pushed, like not in a bad way, but I definitely feel as if the spirit world was like, come on, Amy, like we've been waiting for you for a long time, like get through the door. um
So, ah, geez.
I know, like, God, we've
Michael
been at her for
Jackson
like
waiting in
35
line for
years.
like,
But you know, I was nervous to do so. It's also, as somebody who suffers from anxiety and is a recovering people pleaser, to
because it's
be,
a different type of way of putting yourself out there.
yeah,
It's a different level of exposure, right?
right, because a, there's a lot of myths and misconceptions and judgments about people who do this, a,
Yep.
right, and then also
Capital A.
huge, it's a huge thing, and
Mhm,
we are up against a lot,
mhm, mhm.
right? And I know there's been times, especially early in my work, where, you know, like trolls and internet trolls and stuff would get on my page, and it would make me cry because I'm like,
Yeah.
if you really knew me, you would never say this to me. Like, if you actually ever connected to me and had been in my energy, you would never say that.
Yeah.
Um, but
That's
I've
a
learned to
boundary too.
tougher,
Internet,
I've
social
toughened myself.
media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ignore those. I knock on wood, honestly, like I haven't had a troll message in a long, long time. But if
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
did, I think it would sting for a moment because I'm human and I'm also highly sensitive.
Hmm.
But I wouldn't get in my head and think, oh, they're right, or oh, this is what other people think. Therefore, I'm going
Yeah.
to hold myself back from doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's important to know too as a
That's
boundary. Like, it's okay to feel your feelings because you're human, but
yeah.
like the awareness piece, the spirit, like what I think spirituality really is the self-awareness to know that you're a part of something bigger than anything that you experience. So
Mm.
you're
Yeah. Yeah.
human
Yeah. Yeah.
though, so you can like feel the pain and you can be momentarily like stung by it.
Hmm.
But when you are awakened to your own kind of belonging in the universe and your own like power in a way,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
you
That's.
don't let it drown you anymore. You go
Hmm.
there and then you're like, okay, okay, yeah, I'm ready. I'm gonna get out of it again. And
And,
and I'm not saying, like, some people need help with this, right?
hmm.
I'm certainly not saying like we should tackle all of our problems on our own and we'll eventually like get out of it. I'm just talking about from
Oh,
a spiritual like
perspective. You've
my
learned to let
mind.
it
Yeah.
roll. You've learned to
Yes.
like listen, but then it just rolls off.
Yes, and that's my experience. So I'm not
Yeah.
like, yeah, I want to be careful when we're talking about stuff like that because I know some people wouldn't be that easy for somebody to do. And certainly, like,
No, yeah,
in my
absolutely.
past, it was not that easy for me to do,
No,
right?
no,
So, yeah,
no.
yeah,
And that, because again, all of this stuff
it's
is,
all a
it
boundary.
just keeps going back to like self-awareness and knowing yourself. And this is something that I feel like because we're human, we grow, we change. And so do our boundaries, so do our values grow and change.
Hmm.
And it's just
I was thinking of that
learning to
earlier.
really
Yeah,
look at this. It's
yeah.
almost like we're soul sisters.
Maybe we've known each other before.
Almost like we're connected. Um, but I love it. I just think it just keeps going back to that self-awareness. And because this keeps coming up, and so, maybe it sounds a little bit repetitive, right? But I think it keeps coming up because it's important. And I think it's going to
Yeah.
be especially important going into 2022 that we have this self-awareness about ourselves. If, things are coming up now, it's because I feel like some of us, not all, and it comes in different ways, right? This will look different for everybody, but that it might come up for us in 2022. And that's another like, okay, so this happened for you in 2021. How are you going to deal with it in 2022?
Yeah.
And so on and so forth,
different
right?
change of perspective or looking it through it in a different lens.
Yeah, knowing yourself,
Yeah, I keep thinking about like the age of Aquarius and how we like have just entered it in the last little bit. And about how that's really all about people having more self-awareness, right? And like like I don't know too much about what that means, but like from what I've heard, it's more about getting back to like equality and compassion, and everybody everybody is happier and taken care of and all those things. And then I think, okay, if that's where the universe is trying to lead us, it makes sense why everything is falling apart right now that we can't bring with us into that. It also makes sense the importance of why Erin and I feel that because we can get really overwhelmed by the state of the world, and like, I came here to change the world. I don't know how as one person, I'm going to do that. But if every single person started to work on themselves and have more compassion with themselves and had boundaries with themselves and other people and prioritize their happiness and all of these things, if everybody did that, we would be advancing at a much higher speed to get to this like utopia of where we're going. And I'm like, I have massive like head to toe goosebumps as I say that. I feel it in my bones that that's where humanity is headed. And the more of us that do this work and are like not necessarily as mediums, but just like as people that do this self-reflection and are self-aware and work on our crap, the stuff that we have, the baggage, by working on all of it without judgment and shame and having compassion and forgiveness. We will move over there so much quicker. And like, I want to go over there. I don't know about you, but I'm ready. I am ready.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. I mean, I feel like Erin and I together, like, there is like a soul connection, but we've always, right from the get-go, been like very like supportive of each other. It's never been any competition, like nothing. No. And that is not super common.
Oh, I'm gonna cry.
But it's not, is it? It's not common.
It's very rare, right?
Yeah. And I think that is just us bringing a little bit of that future utopia into our current world in any way that we can. So I'm sure like I try to be this way with everybody I encounter, and I'm sure you do too. And it's just a part of who you are. But yeah, it's just, especially in the spiritual world, like there's a lot of, we talked about this before, there can be a lot of ego in there. There can be a lot of competition, and I just don't want any part of that. I'm like, I want you to win too. Like, I don't want to compete with you.
We're here to work together.
Yeah. That's how we get over there quicker.
We're all of us mediums are intuitive. We're all not intuitive, medium, whatever, regardless of that label. Yeah. We're all connected to the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all connected to
the collective.
Source.
Yeah.
The collective.
The creator, whatever it is you want to call it.
Creator,
God.
Whatever,
God, universe.
Right?
Yeah.
We're all connected, and we're all just trying to figure out.
So we're all in the same team then. If we're all coming from the same place, we're all from the same team. So why have we split up in different teams? Why are we competing?
It's important to recognize our differences and to celebrate them, right?
We're different for a reason.
That's what makes up. We're different for a reason. That's what makes up this beautiful world, this collective energy, right?
Yeah. Imagine if we were all the same. I mean, nothing. No, gross,
I don't want a lot of me's. I can exhaust myself sometimes.
Right? Well, I've created 3 mini-me's, so, just imagine. So, yeah, no, it's a lot of work. One of those is a teenage girl now. Like, imagine.
Too, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that might be a good place to end today.
Yeah, that felt really nice.
That was really good. So yeah,
Thank you
guys,
so much, everyone. This was a very lovely conversation. We thank you for being part of it.
thank you for being here. Merry Christmas, happy
Merry
holidays.
Christmas.
Just just my wish for you is to stay present. If you're listening to this on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, stay present. Put your feet up. Look around, observe what's around you, what's happening.
Oh, we didn't pull a card. Should we pull a card to end?
We can. I wasn't sure if we were going to save it for the next week, but we can.
Oh.
Yeah, let's do it since we brought it up. Let's do it. Let's both do it.
I'm so sorry.
No. But yeah, no, something that I've been, as I'm pulling and as Erin's pulling, something that I've been trying to do more, and it's a tactic I feel like I learned in therapy way back when, is to, focus on your senses. So focus on like, I don't know, 5 things you can see right now, 5 things you can hear right now, 5 things you can feel right now and touch and all those different things. And my wish for you today during the holidays is for you to stop and take a moment and look around and feel that, like, I don't know, that cozy blanket next to you, or the warm socks on your feet, or your cozy pajamas, and taste your coffee or your wine or whatever you're drinking, and like really be in the moment and look at the twinkly lights and listen to like people talking, or what's on the TV, or your Christmas movie, or whatever it is, and just like be in that moment and enjoy it. Sometimes when you hear, I know I've had these moments where sometimes I'm like, remember this. Like, take a moment and remember this. Do you ever have those moments? They come in randomly.
Yeah.
For me. And I just keep hearing, as I'm saying this for you guys, to you guys, is remember this. I get goosebumps all over.
Every time, Amy, just dropping these truth bombs, and I'm getting goosebumps. You getting goosebumps. I'm sure people over there getting goosebumps.
Oh, but just remember it. I'm gonna like play this on Christmas morning.
It's true.
As I'm, I don't know, making something. Yeah. But my husband bought.
You don't necessarily need to take pictures of it on your phone.
No, you can. No judgments. But just
obviously.
remember.
But like, it's about
Yeah. No, I was joking about like, I'm gonna listen to this while I'm cooking, because my husband bought a how many pounds is that? 38-pound turkey. I'm like,
whoa,
there's only 5 of us, right? The turkey is like this big.
This is what it's about.
I know, and he called it.
Unbutton that jean button.
Right? Turkey time.
Wear my comfy pants.
Exactly. I'm wearing comfy pants. I am wearing comfy pants on Christmas Day. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I got my Christmas leggings. I don't know about you. Shall I go first? Shall you go first?
I can go first because
okay.
I pulled out the card.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, so I pulled out the 7 of Water. So I'm using Colette Baron Reed, the Good Tarot. I love this card because wow, I did not even mean to do this. This card, we talked about perspective. This deck is all about flipping tarot and looking at it in a different perspective. So if we got like a bad card in tarot, it's not necessarily a bad card. She flips it in the description booklet that you get with, oracle cards and tarot cards in a different perspective, and she puts it in
I always use her perspective for all cards. Like for any deck I use her perspective of that. I really like Colette. Yeah.
Angel. Yeah. So the 7 of Water. This is similar to the 7 of Cups. Mm-hmm. So water or cups, is water energy. It's to do with our emotions. It's to do with our heart space. So it's holidays. So appropriate because we talked about our emotions.
Yeah.
We're talking about boundaries, right?
Yeah.
And this reminds us that you have choice. You always have choice in the matter. And I think that's an important takeaway, that maybe, whatever situation, whatever scenario you find yourself in, step out of it, look at it from a different perspective. If little you was watching you, how would you do this? What would you want to model for them? And to remember that you just have choices. You have choices to make. You could go A, B, or C, doesn't matter.
That's what boundaries ask you to do.
Yes.
Maybe A isn't working for you. Okay,
Yeah,
so if
and
A
that's
isn't working for
okay.
you, then you have B
You
or
have
you have
plan B.
C.
You definitely have
Yeah,
plan B. There's
yeah,
choices.
yeah. That's an amazing card, and I'm just laughing because I pulled the same from last week, the Seasons of the Witch, the Yule Oracle, because this is a Christmas episode, and I got the Wreath card. Okay,
Ooh, oh my God, these cards are so beautiful.
these are beautiful. So keywords: eternity, growth, symbol of a circle. So this is all about ebbs and flow. You know, the good and bad, the lightness and dark. And literally like solstice coming up, or it will have already happened when you listen to this. And that's the day like when the light returns. That's why we celebrate.
Yep.
So this is about the light and the dark, the good and the
Yeah.
bad. Circles are a perfect representation of the wheel of life. So when the wreaths enter your spread, it is a reminder that good fortune will return to you in time. If you've been going through a rough patch, know that this period will not last forever. You're coming to a turning point in your life,
Mhm.
and more paths will be available to you
Oh
soon.
my God, choices.
Choices. Until that time, remember that you are what you attract. Keeping a positive attitude and trusting in the universe will help you draw even more favorable circumstances, looking at things from different perspectives. If you are
Mm,
going through an
mm.
unusually favorable time, remember to make the most of it. Remember this. Oh,
Guys,
goosebumps. Live in the moment and cherish. Live in the moment. Be present. Like, we can't make this up.
I'm gonna drop my mic. Come on,
uh,
right?
and cherish
Okay,
any good luck that you have right now. Live in the moment.
live
Enjoy
in the
it.
moment.
Enjoy your day.
Enjoy.
We're happy. We're
So good
healthy.
note to end on. Enjoy your day.
Oh, remember. Take a snapshot in your mind. Remember this. I love
Yeah,
that. I love it. Okay.
love it. Love it.
Merry
Happy
Christmas.
Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
If you like what you're hearing, don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and tune in each week as we dish on all things spiritual.